Then saith the prophet and slave of the beauteous one, Who am I, and what shall be the sign? So she answered with him, bending down, a lambent flame of blue, all touching, all penetrant, her lovely hands upon the black earth, her lithe body arched for love, and her soft feet not hurting the little flowers. Thou knowest, and the sign shall be my ecstasy, the consciousness of the continuity of existence, the omnipresence of my body. Aleister Crowley, The Book of the Law. Hello, this is Kinninigan from RagingReptilian.com. This is an exclusive only sex magic lecture I was asked to do by request on, of all people, Aleister Crowley. The reason I read this at the beginning is Crowley, although we hear a lot of people talk about him, don't go into a lot of the details of what he was really about. And I'm even going to show you with some of the orders that he was a member of. They flat out lie about what he actually did right on their own website. And we'll get into that. That was the OTO, Order Templo Orientis, or the Order of the Golden Dawn, which he was also a member of. There's been a lot of debate of whether Crowley was a Freemason or not, and I'm going to say this. He probably was, but compared to what he was involved in, the Freemason is pretty much a Boy Scout outfit compared to, yes, a lot of Masons, when they reach higher levels, like when you become a Master Mason and you reach the 32nd degree, you'll hear me often say they're allowed to join some of the quote-unquote side orders, the Shriners being one of them. Now, when you become a Shriner, when you start getting engaged in a little bit of the sex magic rituals, and what I'm talking about is the eating of human feces, the drinking of urine, sodomy, dressing up like a woman. So that's why I had the mature warning label on the beginning of the video, because we're going to be talking about some things here. And the reason I'm reading this quote is they try to make Crowley out like he's not as bad, and he's highly praised. And I mean, I'm at Goodreads right here, which is quotable quotes. You know, you figure they're not going to put anything evil or satanic or Luciferian, but that poem that I just read, even though it might sound pretty, her soft feet not hurting the little flowers, I know it's catchy, but the Book of the Law is one of the most satanic and Luciferian books ever written. It wasn't even written by Crowley, and he gives the credit to this book from an archon deity known as Lam or Awas. I'm going to leave all these links in the description. This is the Book of the Law right here, Liber al Veligus, and that is where that quote just came from. This is where the infamous "do as thy wilt" comes from. That you see a lot of people wearing that shirt, "do as thy wilt," and they think it's cool, but what I mean by what Crowley was involved in makes Freemasons look like Boy Scouts in comparison is, at the surface, sex magic may sound kind of appealing. Like, okay, we're going to practice some occult stuff and have sex, I guess? Well, no, not really. First of all, sex magic is just a fancy word for this, which is actually spermognosis. Yes. If they called it spermognosis, it wouldn't be as catchy as sex magic, would it now? That is the belief that through the consumption of human sperm, they can become closer to their pagan gods, and that only a man can perform rituals, which is why all Catholic priests are male. And the spermognosis that he practices by the Ordo Templi Orientis, which is this organization right here. You'll notice their logo right there. Obviously looks like a human vagina. This right here is meant to represent a human anus. You see the Eye of Wajet, or the Eye of Ra, or the Illuminati. The avian symbol. Now this gets pretty interesting, the bird. Let's talk a little bit about Aleister Crowley, obviously himself. This is an infamous picture he is known for. Let's talk about his name. I believe that Crowley, because in his defense, I don't mean this in a good way, the guy was actually a genius, and as sick as he was involved with some of these rituals that I'm going to talk about, he wrote massive amounts of books. He was skilled in multiple languages. He was writing books like the Book of the Law. He wrote the Lesser Key of Solomon, which we'll talk about in a little bit. He was also a known dope fiend and a known heavy cocaine user also. This is in the early 1900s when it wasn't, heroin and cocaine back then wasn't considered more, a recreational drug, and it was discovered and used by such occultists as Crowley, who would eventually, get people to engage in the consumption of heroin and cocaine during these sex magic rituals. It is well known that in the occult, the use of narcotics, it's part of the Wicca. Yeah, I'm going to make a video about Wicca in the future, and I'll actually put that on my main channel. That's a little more tame, but we'll talk about Wicca. But one of the paths of enlightenment in Wicca is to use incense, drink wine, and take drugs. And it's because it puts your mind in the state of mind for these rituals that brings you more under Archon possession. Yes, that is actually true. This is why people like under heavy amounts of methamphetamine are not themselves. But let's talk about this picture here. This is a very infamous picture known of him, and I believe that this picture here, he's symbolizing that he is a reptilian. You see the shadow on the wall. Two things in his name. His real name is not Aleister. His first name is actually Edward. That's, yeah, we'll talk about it. His real name is Edward Aleister Crowley. But if you look at the word Aleister, it contains the word lie, L-I-E, which is one thing that Luciferians love doing. The second thing, his second name, Crow, and then you have L, and then you have Y. You break that down. Crow, L is Saturn, Y is Yahweh, and Crow is a direct reference to avian birds, reptilians. I believe he was a reptilian because for the amount of knowledge that he would have had for his magic systems he developed, he would have been somebody put in place, a reptilian shapeshifter, to basically him and with other occultists such as Madame Blavatsky at the time, who was around the same time as him. Their job was to propel the 20th century, or the 19th century, I'm sorry, into a new worship of sex magic and occultism. There wouldn't be another revival of that until like around the 60s when another infamous character comes along and founds the Church of Satan. That's Anton LaVey. Make a video about him in the future also. I got some suspicions about him. But we hear a lot of people worship Crowley. Yeah, they like Crowley. They like the phrases, do as thy will, love is the law, love under will. You'll hear them talking about the book of the law. Even Jay-Z has been seen with his do as thy wilt shirt on. But what a lot of people don't realize is some of the things that he was involved in is so perverse and so disgusting that there is nothing sexy about these rituals that he performed. But as far as the case of him being a reptilian, it also ties in with this, which is the reptilian blood legacy. Aleister Crowley, of all people, was known infamously for making something, in this article it's known as Starfire blood. He was known for making something called red mercury, which is like Starfire blood, except it has the semen added, I believe, and urine. And they drink this. It's menstrual blood. It's fermented menstrual blood, and they use fermented menstrual blood for the hormones, and they ferment it in a cave, and that's called Starfire blood, and it's highly sought after by the reptilians. And Crowley was known in making a version of this known as red mercury. So even teaching people this, we're getting some reptilian roots in the blood drinking of these people. Now, this is not your normal blood drinking like adrenochrome I talk about, or even just drinking blood as satanic ritual, even though as sick as that is. This gets a little more perverse because Starfire blood is fermented menstrual blood of all things. There are witches in covenants who actually collect their menstrual blood every month. Yes, this is true. What else you get involved in? I think it'd be easier to break it down this way. You become a member of the... Well, let's talk about the OTO first. The Ordo Templo Orientis. And you just see some of the Luciferian symbolism here. P.O. Box 666. Yeah, how did they get 666 P.O. Box? Come on. It's because people in our own government are sympathetic with these people. So here are the lodges here. Not that much is known about the OTO. Well, what I mean by that, a lot of people generically on YouTube will just mention the Masons or Freemason when they think of the occult. And I tell people there are many secret societies, and they're all about different things. And this is what is known as Thelema. Let's show you something right here that should jump out right at your eyes. Yes, does that winged symbol right there? That is the symbol of the Anunnaki right there. That comes from Babylon. That's what I mean by the reptilian reference. And this is the United States Grand Lodge, Ordo Templi Orientis, or the Order of the Oriental Templars. Yes, going all the way back to the Temple of Solomon, or the Temple of the East. They go by the OTO. Then the other one I'll show you later on in this video is the Order of the Golden Dawn, which he was also a member of, and that's going to tie a little bit into his ritual from Abraham the Mage at Boskeen House. We're going to talk about that. Of all people, too, like I said, a lot of musicians and celebrities look up to him. I grew up listening to Led Zeppelin, and it was heartbreaking to find out, actually, that one of my favorite guitarists growing up, Jimmy Page, was a huge Aleister Crowley sympathizer. Actually bought his house at Boskeen. Strangely, Jimmy Page's son died in that house. They said it was by accident, but that's highly suspicious. There was rumors floating around that John Bonham was a sacrifice by him to propel Led Zeppelin into superstar status. Yeah, it starts getting disturbing when you start learning the truth. You get the public eye of what they put out of these organizations, and then when you find out other things. The OTO makes their case here. You'll see this word, Catholica. Yeah, they try to make themselves out like some kind of love is the law. That's from the Book of the Law. They call it Mysteria Mystica Maxima and Ecclesia Gnostica Catholica. So no, and this is a godless organization. The reason they do all the sick and perverse things they do, this is why I tell people a lot of times, Luciferians know the Bible better than most Christians in some cases, because all their rituals involve sacrilegious rites and rituals that are directly against the Word of God. That's why they eat feces. That's why they drink urine. Well, the drinking of urine actually alkalizes the body for occult ritual. I know you could do that with apple cider vinegar. I've been talking about that. No, but they'd rather use human urine, of all things. So you join this organization. What you are is a new initiate. Regardless of who you join it, whether it be the Freemason or the OTO, you go by the word neophyte. What is a neophyte? That is a new initiate. You have neo at the beginning there. That's a new initiate into an occult or religious order, even though they claim not to be a religious or occult order, but they call themselves neophyte, and that's what you're called when you're initiated into these. The OTO has degrees, just like they're different than the Masons. A lot of the people in the OTO are also Masons, although it is a separate organization. One of the things I noticed about how they lie about Aleister Crowley, as an example. See, his name is Edward Alexander Crowley. He changed it to Aleister. L-I. Well, Lee. I know I said L-I-E, but you can still get lie out of that. And ties in with this too. Liber Al Vel Legis. Yeah, so he changes his name around a little bit there. He was born in 1875. Went to Trinity College in Cambridge and Malvern. Lyric and dramatic poet. Yeah, we're going to take a look at some of Aleister Crowley's other poetry. The one that I read in the beginning was kind of tame to some of the other stuff we'll talk about. And they kind of prop him up here. One of the things I noticed, though, is in 1919, they say Crowley left New York for Cephalo, Sicily, where he began to paint landscapes. He was transformed by a product. Okay. What happened is one of his initiates had died in Sicily, and he was actually kicked out. And they tell you right on here it was from drinking local water against Crowley's advice. No, the undergraduate that died, that was a recruit of Crowley's, actually died from drinking contaminated cat's blood. And they didn't want to... And right on the website here, they lie about it and just say it was from local water. This is what Luciferians do. This is why you got to dig between the lines to really find out the truth of him. So right when you go to the OTO and they're trying to make it, they're lying right on the website about him. Yes, now, they are telling the truth about that. Yeah, the press depicted him as the wickedest man in the world. He also went by the Great Beast, number 666. This is really important. I want you to understand something. There's a video I made on my channel. Dragons are the beauty, humans are the beast. 666 decoded. That is actually before my main site, Raging Reptilian, which we are working on getting back. Don't worry, it's going to. I'll give some updates about that. The point is, I used to write articles on that website, and I wrote that article, and I actually read that on the video where I made the case about 666 is the number of the beast is not exactly what you think it is. And the reason why Aleister Crowley called himself the Great Beast 666, 666 is the atomic number of carbon. 6 atoms, 6 neutrons, 6 protons. And we are carbon-based life forms. So, what he is saying, and if he is a reptilian in human form, he is calling himself a beast, meaning he does not like his human form. It was a mockery of the human form, 666. People think that 666 is tied into Satanism. It's not. It's a play on the atomic number of carbon. Now, here's another thing that you need to understand. The word Thelema, which is his magic system, is the Greek word for will. So that gives a new, like when you become a Freemason, you have to do it under your own free will. Here's another infamous quote from the Book of the Law. Love is the law, love under will. Now you understand, that means love under Thelema, or the sex magic system that they practice. Now roughly, what is the difference between a sex magic ritual and what I talk about with the Bacchus or Dionysus parties practiced by like Shriners or something? In Eyes Wide Shut, the infamous sex scene in that movie, you were witnessing a Bacchus ritual. There would have been a human sacrifice before that orgy took place, and the drinking of blood. But what makes Thelema and sex magic different? Well, it's the way that the ritual is done. When you walk into a Thelema sex magic ritual, the first thing you're going to come across is a naked witch. She's going to be naked, handing you cakes to eat. This is a mockery of Catholic communion. Also, there'll probably be drinking of blood, which is a mockery of the drinking of wine in the Catholic Church. And that's part of their spermognosis. So you'll get these. This is a meme, but it's based more in reality. These are elixir cakes of light. Cookies will contain human and or mammal blood and or semen, possibly from Menzies, estrus, abortions, hostile aliens, priests, and or congregation and or bird droppings. They actually will contain female menstrual blood and male semen mixed together in the batter, and they cook it, and everyone that walks into this party has to eat one of these cakes. It's a mockery of the Catholic communion, and that's how the ritual would start, right when you walk in, and there'll be a naked witch. These same witches will also engage in an orgy with all the men there. Some people might think, well, okay, it's a little disgusting, they're eating sperm cakes, but it gets worse. What these witches will do, after they have sex and they build up their sexual hormones with all these guys, and the men will also, most of the men in this order, well, Crowley was known to be bisexual, even though he led more towards being homosexual. He actually has a great hate towards women. We're going to show you that in some of the poetry he writes. So these witches will go around, they will have sex with all the guys, and then what they will do is they will go around and then urinate on the guys' chests with build-up hormones. They'll also be defecating, eating of human feces. This is another mockery of Christ. You know, they'll do such things as defecate on a crucifix and all that, and eating of shit. And I actually have a poem I'm going to show you where he talks about eating of shit. So, now the magic system that he does, like I said, it's a little different. He is also known for this. This is what he uses in the occult in his rituals. This is a cipher-based magical alphabet. This is called the Daggers alphabet. It's cipher-based. It appears in Aleister Crowley's The Vision and the Voice. Yeah, a cipher alphabet is basically using these, and for the letter A, it would be this symbol. For B, it would be this one, and these are what is called the Daggers alphabet. You'll notice, too, the movement of energy pointing either way. And this is what is known as a cipher alphabet. And he wrote a lot of his magical spells in this cipher. The reason why is because unless you knew how to decode it, you didn't know what it said. Very clever, huh? So he could write a ritual down or a message using this cipher alphabet on paper and pass it along to other black magicians, and they wouldn't know how to decode it. Anyone else coming across it, they wouldn't know what to make of it. But yes, this is a system that he created. This is what I mean by some of the genius that's behind Crowley and why I don't think it's human genius. Now, the book of the law here, Liber Valigus. Crowley was channeled this book by this deity right here known as Lam, or he called Awas. Why am I showing you this? This is really important. Back to the this is very important. He died in Hastings, England in 1947. What else happened in 1947? We got the Roswell incident, didn't we? Now this depiction of Lam here, sorry, looks a little like an alien gray, but he's not. In fact, if you actually look at his head, yes, it is symbolic of, these are the archons I talk about summoned in black magic rituals. He called him Lam. His number is 71. There are 72 demons in the Lesser Key of Solomon. Now, Lam is not listed as the name of the 71st demon. But over a 3-day period, Aleister Crowley claims that he was channeled the Book of the Law over a 3-day period from this entity, Lam, who would come to him an hour a day and recite the book to him. He doesn't even take credit for writing it. He claims that he was channeled this book from Lam. Yeah, invoked repeatedly in 1918 and called Am. Yeah, he was invoking this entity. And how would he was doing it. Now, he co-wrote this with another well-known black magician and occultist, S.L. McGregor Mathers. And this is some of the incantations here. There are 72 demons in here, and 72, if you notice, is a reoccurring number in the occult. For example, there are exactly 72 gargoyles outside the Church of Notre Dame. Yes, I'm going to make a video about the symbolism in the Gothic churches. But so it's interesting because we have these 72 demons. They can all be summoned by different ways. The 71 is called Dantalion. He's a duke, great and mighty, appearing in the form of man with many countenances, all men's and women's faces, and he hath the book in his right hand. Yeah, the book in his right hand. He's referring to the book of the law. His office is to teach all arts and sciences unto any, and declare a secret counsel of anyone, for he knoweth the thoughts of all men and women, and he can change them at his will. What is will? I just showed you. That is Thelema. He can cause love and show the similitude of any person, and show by the same vision, let them be what part of the world they will. He governeth 36 legions of spirits, and this is his seal, which wear thou. This is the seal here. Number 71 would actually be this one here. You'll notice the very avian-looking strange wings on that. So every one of these demons in here can be invoked for different things. And as I just showed with the 71st, it sounds a lot like Lam, who channeled the Book of the Law to Crowley, talking about will, which is Thelema. So he, I believe, with the Book of the Law and the Lesser Key of Solomon, was teaching people a system how to invoke these archons. And yes, that is what Crowley did to summon Lam. And you'll notice the coiled serpent right there. Pretty obvious. That's a coiled serpent going around with the, you see right there. And that the head of the snake, look at this. It's very reptilian looking. Almost kind of not like snake-like. It's more very strange. That is. Now, like I said, I'll leave all these in the description. You want to read the Book of the Law and the Lesser Key of Solomon, I advise you to do so at your own will. Nothing bad will really happen to you if you do that. You can only, there's a lot more involved in these rituals than just reading them. I obviously just wanted to show you, and give you the tools if you do want to research into it. But yes, this is part of the system they follow. Now, the Book of the Law is strange, very strange, and when you read it, you kind of get this sense like, yeah, this was not written by a human. Some of the stuff in there, like the quote I read in the beginning, that's number 26 right here, right from the Book of the Law, that they put on quotable quotes on the internet like it's something cool. Yeah, just take a quote out of one of the most Luciferian and perverse books ever written, channeled by Lamb, the alien, and put it on quotable quotes like Aleister Crowley, somebody cool, like he's just this eccentric poet. Please. There's a lot more going on in this. The word of the law is Thelema, or will. Yeah, there goes that word again. So, yeah, there's a lot of strange things in here. It's not that long. Now, I wanted to show this. I made that video about George Soros saying, now in the Book of the Law, it's abrahadabra, but George Soros was quoted, and I showed in that video, saying abracadabra, and that's a very well-known magical word, isn't it? In fact, we even see it like in children's cartoons, and it's very well, even some stage magicians would use it in, well, you know, abracadabra. And that word is rooted right from the Book of the Law, coming from the alien gray lamb, or the 71st demon from the Lesser Key of Solomon. And yes, Lamb, his number is 71. In fact, let's show you this right here, because it gets very interesting when you start looking at the symbolism behind this. And I've had a lot of people ask me about what is the symbol of 72 in the occult, and it ties directly in with these. You know, I type in LAM for lamb, and what shows up? Lambs. Yeah, okay. Now this is what we're looking for right here. Need to get a better. This is not the picture I'm looking for. There's actually communion from Mighty Striper. No, lamb. Maybe I just should put Crowley into the search because. Sorry about that. Search engines, yeah. But when you look at the correct picture of lamb, here's the picture I'm looking for here. Lamb, or the way. I want you to notice something about his head too. Here, let me just do this. This is going to be a lot easier. The way. Lamb is a Tibetan word for way or path, and Lama is who goeth. The specific title of the gods of Egypt, the treader of the path in Buddhistic phraseology. Its numerical value is 71, the number of this book. Now, he is not Buddhist and he is not Tibetan. We all know that's a bunch of bull. Even like going back to the main site here, they claim that when Aleister Crowley had this disciple die from drinking contaminated cat's blood, actually, it wasn't local water, that he was training them in yoga, concentration, and self-analysis. That is bullshit. There is a such thing as satanic yoga, and yes, Crowley did follow it. It's a way to open up Kundalini energy for some of the rituals he did. Yes, there are satanic forms of yoga. Not all yoga is satanic, just some of it. So getting into that, I'm going to now show you pretty much, that wasn't, we're going to get into this too. I'm going to, the ritual of Abraham the Mage at Boskine House, which is one of the most infamous rituals that he did. But before we get into that, I'm going to teach you a little bit about spermognosis here, and yeah, it gets a little disgusting. I'm not going to read all this. Aleister Crowley's sex magical system. Yeah, there's a thing right here. I might just read this part because here's an example of some of the. We'll get to the poetry in a second. Just bear with me here. Background belief system. One day the verse broke into pieces, either caused by a female aspect. Now, that's important because we're going to start to see some of Crowley was one of the people who had animosity towards females of all things, and like I said, he was openly homosexual as well as, well, he was pretty much bisexual. You want to include bestiality into that too. His idea was that by having sex with any animal, man, woman, eating of human feces, drinking of urine, he wanted to be the wickedest man alive, and he wanted to engage in everything that was considered, let me finish reading this, aspect of the creator or due to intermediary entity between the divine and the profane. Profane, yeah, we hear the word profane things. Freemason referred to us non-initiates, or as the profane. So his idea was as a direct mockery towards God, to do every vile and disgusting act that humans aren't supposed to do. Sacrificing of animals, drinking of blood, doing heroin, cocaine, other narcotics in large amounts for his rituals. Homosexuality, orgies, I just went over that a little bit. And then he creates this brand of what is called spermognosis. Now, yeah, this is true. Not all Gnostics are, Gnostic actually means knowledge. That's what Gnostic means. Not all Gnostics were spermognostics. I'm not going to read, obviously, this whole thing here, because this is a lecture from someone else who's trying to talk about Crowley, but he brings up some good points in here. The Order Templi Orientis, that's the OTO. Now, just to show you about some of the perversion that Crowley was, Crowley's interest in women was reduced. Yeah, and then he started to write some really screwed up poetry, as you'll see here. Leah Sublime, sprawl on me, sit, on my mouth, Leah, shit on me, slut, creamy the curds, that drip from your gut, greasy the turds, dribble your dung on the tip of my tongue. Yes. They won't put that on quotable quotes on that website I showed you here, will they? No, because that's not making him look in a very good light now, is it? He's got books of poetry that he put out, and they're all kind of like perverse like this also. There is also a urine fetish and a fetish with getting venereal diseases. That is, Crowley expresses a kink for disease, even including what seems to be Heisig's bad oral hygiene or gingivitis, stating that her breast stinks and that he wants her to spit on him. Yeah, this is kind of stuff that they get involved in with sex magic. Also, I see the word whore too. Let me show you the root of the word whore. It goes back to this, the reptilian blood drinking. Let me just find it. Give me 1 second here. The word whore, okay. Menstrual blood was provided for the elite of the reptilian royal line by virgin priestesses, and this is the origin of the term scarlet woman, or to the Greeks, sacred woman. The Greek word for this, hierodulai, was eventually translated into English as harlot. In the Babylonian Talmud, they referred to Jesus' mother as being, quote-unquote, a whore or a harlot. She who played the harlot with carpenters. She who came from princes and governors played the harlot with carpenters. Yeah, they were calling Mother Mary a whore in the Babylonian Talmud. And into the German as whores, the origin of the word whore. So, yeah. It's got some reptilian roots, even the word whore. The word ritual derives from this practice, ritu, or redness. That's where, yeah, the word ritual is rooted from the blood drinking. That's where redness comes from. And so do the words right and red. Menstrual blood is one reason why the color red is so important to Satanists, and is another reason for the constant use of the color gold by royal bloodlines. Gold is called the metal of the gods, but to the Anunnaki, well, reptilians they mean, of the Sumerian tablets, menstrual blood was the gold of the gods, and they highly sought after it, and that was this right here, known as starfire blood. You want to read about this, the reptilian blood legacy. I'm probably going to use this bookmark in another video I do about Elizabeth Bathory, the Blood Countess, and that is actually going on my main channel because it deals with the roots of the Dracula mythology going back to Transylvania, and of course the blood bathing and drinking. And then Of course, this can all be tied back to the reptilians of all people, not by surprise. So now, this is going to be a little, maybe I can blow the screen up here. I know people ask me to increase the text size so they can read along with me. Aleister Crowley's sex magic system. Aleister Crowley maintained that if the task of his sex magic organization, the OTO, was to restore Christianity to its real status as a solar phallic religion. Phallic is penis. The structure of the OTO, like that of Freemasonry, is based on a staged series of initiations or degrees. The essence of the order is in its higher degrees. Strictly speaking, only members of those degrees are considered to be members of the OTO proper. It would be the equivalent of being a master mason with a Freemason. Adoration of the phallus, penis worship, both within and without. Interaction outside the closed vessels of the vagina and anus. This is why I showed you, going back to this, right here. The symbol is both a representation of the female vagina and the male's anus. Sexual fluids might be mixed with saliva and then rubbed into the absorbent tissues of the anus and perineum, as well as external correspondences to the chakras. There also might be used to anoint the internal anus, then transferred as triune elixir, semen, anal elixirs, and saliva. I told you, this gets downright disgusting. Back to the mouth. The fluids may also be anointed on the eyelids or the entire Kabbalistic middle pillar. Interaction within the vagina involving either menstrual or the secretions of a woman when sexually aroused. Impregnation and fertilization of the egg. Also the acts of creation or succession, for example, the election of a leader, the outer head of the order. Isolation in the anus where there is no interaction at all. Interaction with the excrement of small amounts of blood where small wounds occur through intercourse. Mucus, and of course the mucous membranes that lead directly to the blood supply. Crowley's own preference was that I am inclined to believe that that's 11th degree is better than that of the 9th degree. Ultimately, in the OTO's sexual magic, everything came down to semen, more recently likened to a computer hard disk, pre-formatted to be loaded with software and used at will. Crowley, the industrial use of semen will revolutionize human society. Now, that's a little scary. We don't know what they put in our food, do we? And the fact that we know that we have a lot of occultists in high levels of government, and Crowley was saying that the industrial use of semen will revolutionize human society. Yeah, he wanted everybody to be consuming human semen. This is what spermnosis is. His instructional text, Amorata, defines the use of semen as counteracting asthma, bronchitis. Yeah, I'm not reading that. It's whatever. Obesity. Yeah, lose weight, drink semen, lose weight. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense now, doesn't it? Hair loss. Oh, yeah. Oh, isn't that great? Graying hair. To take care of your graying hair with semen consumption. To avoid charges of quackery, the current American OTO, or Caliphate, denies the medical use of this elixir of life and claims that it does not practice medicine. Use of its elixir of life and claims that it does not practice for sacramental purposes. This OTA uses hosts made with honey, meal, and wine. These called cakes of light. That was that pic I showed you, the elixir cakes, which may, however, contain small quantities of blood and semen. Ashes from burned cakes of light prepared according to Crowley's, that's the Book of the Law it's referring there, would be acceptable as an additional agreement. The Swiss OTA used a total of 3,000 hosts obtained by the Crowleyites from a general Catholic convent. Yes, that word Catholic comes up again, and I'm going to show you. The reason why, there's a secret society in the Vatican known as the Rosicrucians, and the Order of the Hermetic Dawn, I pulled the links up here, is part of that order, and that's the other one he was involved in. We'll talk about them. They are a secret society within the Vatican. Yeah, why do you think the Vatican is so screwed up? The incense grains have been opportunely supplied by Chief Sacristan of St. Gallen Cathedral, and for the wine for the Mass came directly from the bishop. According to Crowley, those cakes should include menstrual fluids, but In mass, the host is of excrement. Magically speaking, blood and excrement attracting spirits, sperm keeping them alive. He also noted in his diary on May 30th, 1923, that the Dalai Lama has the right to have the faithful eat his excrement. There are many elements of OTO doctrines that can prove inimical to its public relations image. The requirement for a crucifixion of a frog in the OTO. Yes, they crucify a frog. Now, Aleister Crowley was known, and the stories came out that he did this as a child, and they just try to make it off like, oh, he was eccentric, he was a little weird. Why do they crucify frogs, of all things? I don't know, it's a strange animal. And cats, too. That's what I was talking about, the initiate that died drinking the contaminated cat's blood. Advice given to members that they can consider those without the pale of the order as inferior beings and blatantly anti-democratic elements in the various OTO constitutions, anti-Semitic statements, and texts that can be said to interfere with religious freedoms, just to mention a few. I don't think I really need to read through too much of this. You get the idea. Some pretty sick, perverse stuff there, as per their own. The cake's light here. The other thing that Crowley teaches, one thing that I'm going to see if it's on here, that I mentioned before. Aleister Crowley also taught, of all things, why we're not allowed to talk about the trans-apocalypse, is that people who are transgendered are more in tune to be opened up to demonic possession. And a transgendered priest performing a Catholic Mass can hence turn it into a satanic Mass, because Catholic Mass is supposed to only be performed by people with sperm, otherwise men. Now, getting back to the Vatican and the Rosicrucian Order. This is the Order of the Golden Dawn. This is who he was a member of. We are brethren of the Rosicrucian Inner. Here, I'll increase this so you. We, the brethren of the Rosicrucian Inner Order, bestow our greeting, love, and prayers upon each and everyone who reads this, our Golden Dawn Manifesto. You see that? Yes, they are an inner circle inside the Rosicrucians. On the vernal equinox, 22nd day of March, 2001, the greatly honored chefs of the Inner Order. This is like a public relations thing. I don't read too much about this. There's something else mind-boggling about the Order of the Golden Dawn. Found this, which is kind of like a now I want you to notice something here. The symbols that pop out. This is one of their pages. This is a kind of public relations recruitment page. The Hermetic Order of the Golden Dawn. The secret mind virus epidemic they don't want you to know. Yeah, what they claim in this mockery of an ad here is that we are all infected by mind parasites, and the only way we can remove these mind parasites is becoming an initiate into the Golden Dawn and following spermonosis. Now, as I scroll through this, I'm not reading this ad. This ad is a complete joke. It's mockery. Like I said, they lie right on their own websites, even about Crowley, like I showed you here. I want you to notice something, though, and that it should be the symbols that pop out to you on their own site. Joseph Mengele. What's he doing on here? The Angel of Death. Yeah, that's because the Golden Dawn is sympathetic towards the Fool Society and the Nazis also. No surprise. The CIA. Yeah, what are they doing on here? These symbols are here for a reason. They're telling you something on their little promotional ad here. CIA Director Alan Dulles became obsessed with the work of Mengele. Yeah, what are you saying? Was he a member of the Golden Dawn? Because that's what I think you're stating on here. They even have InfoWars linked on here, of all people. The JFK assassination. And it's kind of funny, you go through here, look at these companies: General Electric, CBS, Disney, Time Warner, Viacom, News Corp, HBO. Look at all these companies. They're all owned by elitist pagans, too. We know that. Probably members. And I'll bet you all these companies have ties to the Golden Dawn. That's why they're on their website. They're showing you, look, this is who we roll with, okay? This is not They're not mocking these people. They're not talking anything bad about it. It's right in your face. That's all I'm saying. Now, you want to talk about some real big in-your-face mockery here from the Order of the Golden Dawn. The truth is being exposed. False flag operations. People are starting to realize that some mass shootings in the United States are actually false flag operations. Extravagant displays of unthinkable crisis that scares and intimidates the public, usually as a distraction to something bigger that is happening behind the scenes. Do I even need to reiterate on that one right there? Who's responsible for the false flag operations? And they're telling you right now, when there's a false flag operation, there's something going on behind the scenes that they're covering up. Haven't we been talking about that for a while now? Celebrity meltdowns, or MK Ultra mind control, which comes from the CIA, of all things. It's commonly known that the victims of trauma-based mind control finally snap between ages 24 and 31, when the split personalities start to recognize each other and the programming fails. More and more celebrities are melting down and going to rehab for reprogramming. But not before the public catches wind of their insane behavior that leaves everyone confused. A sure sign that their program is failing them. Yeah, don't need to talk about that one too much. We definitely get a lot of that. Hollywood pedophilia. And they spelled Hollywood wrong too. Isn't that amazing? I guess they don't know how to spell here. They spelled it with one L. Hollywood pedophilia. Ritual sexual abuse of children. A common appetite for these black magicians. And you know what's funny? Is the Order of the Golden Dawn, they are black magicians. They're telling you right here they engage in pedophilia right on their own website by mocking it, saying that this is caused by the mass brain parasite that's infecting everyone, and we can help you if you join our order. Has been in the spotlight recently thanks to celebrities speaking out and sharing their unthinkable stories. The link between Hollywood and... Oh, they spelled Hollywood right there. Maybe I should email them and tell them, you need to typo check your website. The link between Hollywood and Satanism has been proven since its inception, and now the entire underworld is falling to its knees. If that is not in-your-face mockery of the highest order, I don't know what is. Saying that black magicians engage in ritual sexual abuse of children. And who is that? The Order of the Golden Dawn. Look at these symbols right there. Those are black magic symbols. There goes the checkerboard floor right there that they do their rituals on. That's why I have no respect for a lot of these orders, obviously. Unlock your power as a true Rosicrucian adept. Become a light warrior. Manifest the meaningful life you were born to live. And then, you know, what gets... Oh. Some of the greatest and most powerful men and women in history were Rosicrucians, so you might recognize. Isaac Newton, he wrote the Kybalion of Hermes Francis Bacon. Yeah, these are a lot of older names. Helena Blavatsky, I was talking about her earlier. Yeah, the occultist, theosophist, very well known. Yeah, so what are they telling you on their website? All these guys right here engage in what I was just talking about, false flag operations, MK Ultra mind control, and of all things, pedophilia, as well as the spermonosis stuff also. Would you like to stand beside these great leaders, discover your secrets, and unlock... They make it like this is some kind of like advertising, like the truth about holy pentagrams. The holy pentagram. Oh my God, these people are a joke. And they don't even care. So anyway, you get down to the bottom here. Look at this. This is fucking hilarious. I'm sorry. They make it like it's like this DVD box set you can order. And see, Neo-Fate. That's what I was telling you earlier. You're a new initiate into a religious or occult order. Oh yeah, and what's it cost to join? The Rosicrucian. I can't get through this without laughing because of the mockery here, because it's so... The way they have this laid out, oh yeah, you get your ceremonial dagger also. That ties in with the daggers alphabet from Crowley. That's for sacrificing. I hope you know that. Killing of animals or humans, what have you. So yeah, you get down to the bottom. Occult science unveiled, magic, natural and divine, the science of miracles. Look, This whole ebook collection is available instantly, and they're saying it's worth over $1,000, but you can join now for 16. Yeah, those are lodge fees. Okay, enroll now. Look at the bottom of this. This is a joke. This is mockery of the highest order, and they don't care. Yeah, look. Alpha Omega Rosicrucian Mystery School, Hermetic Order of the Golden Dawn. And one of your most famous members was Aleister Crowley. I find it... They didn't put his name on there, though. They put Helena Blavatsky's, though. That's pretty interesting. Enroll now. Yeah, like... This is like a friggin' TV commercial. And guess who else is on here? As seen on InfoWars. NBC, Fox, and CBS. Ask yourself the questions. They're mocking you right in front of your face. So the last part of this video here, we're going to talk about Aleister Crowley's most famous ritual. It came from this. This link will be in the description. This is the entire book. Kenny always gives you the goods. Don't worry. Even the links I give you are worth it, even if you don't watch my videos. This is the book here that he got that ritual from. The Book of Sacred Magic of Abraham the Mage. Translated by S.L. McGregor Mathers. He's the guy who co-wrote The Lesser Key of Solomon with him. And he performed a ritual out of this book. This is the ritual here. Now they say it's a ritual for contacting, quote-unquote, your holy guardian angel. It's mockery. This is a ritual for conjuring reptilians. And now there's some screwed up things that happened during this ritual with Crowley, and it involves the Hermetic Order of the Golden Dawn and the Abraham ritual. Yeah, so what was this? I got a website pulled up that tells you a little bit. Start learning magic. Don't you love how you're going to see more and more of this going into the future too, as they're trying to sell this agenda with a lot of the youth and all that. That's why they're making it appealing, like, oh, you got a mind virus for $199. You can become a Rosicrucian, eat sperm cakes, and yeah, whatever. So the most famous ritual he was known for was the ritual at Boskine House. Here's the house here. No, wait, I'm sorry. Wrong picture. This one right here. That house was bought by Jimmy Page of Led Zeppelin, of all people, and I said his son mysteriously died in this house. This is where Aleister Crowley performed one of his most infamous rituals that comes from that book from Abraham the Mage. Aleister Crowley, Black Magic at Boleskine House. Aleister Crowley was... Alright, I'm not going to give you the... we already know what his name is. We're going to start here. Boleskine House is located on the southeastern shore of Loch Ness, close to the village of Foyers, Inverness-shire, Scotland. The mansion was constructed in the late 18th century by Archibald Fraser. According to local legend, there was once a church on the site. This is why he picked that site, as a mockery towards God. And, he wanted to desecrate the site. It was a holy site. Now, what they'll do, and this actually happens in real cathedrals and churches, they will desecrate a holy institution by performing a black magic ritual and human sacrifice in that church or cathedral during, non-business hours. Who's that tied to? The Rosicrucians. And that's how they desecrate holy ground. Or they'll have a transgendered priest perform a Catholic mass, of all things. Usually female to male transgender. You'll never know. Pretty interesting, huh? According to local legend, there's once a church on the site which caught fire, trapping its whole congregation inside, burning them all to death. Yeah, this is why he wanted that location. That's really screwed up, isn't it? Aleister Crowley purchased the forbidding Boleskine House in 1899 and styled himself Laird of Boleskine and Abertara. He remained there until 1913, and bizarre tales of odd goings on at Boleskine House during his occupancy or legion, through the majority, probably originate in local folklore. One story concerns a local butcher who was called to the house for meat order while Crowley was involved in the lengthy, difficult ritual of Abraham. The butcher's incessant ringing of the bell broke Crowley's concentration, and irritated and frustrated, he hastily scrawled the meat order on the nearest piece of paper. which happened to have a spell written on the back. Shortly afterwards, when the butcher was cutting up the meat for Crowley's order back at the shop, he apparently lost concentration and sliced all the fingers off his right hand with a cleaver. Yes, these people can curse you like that with spells, and it's real. Other stories tell of unexplained disappearance of Crowley's housekeeper and a local workman who went out of his mind after being tormented by the dark spirits conjured up by Crowley's rituals. We'll talk about that. That ties in with the Golden Dawn, and I'll explain. They might mention it in here, but the actual magical ritual which Crowley attempted to perform at Boskin had nothing to do with black masses or black magic. It was known as the Abraham Operation, taken from the Book of the Sacred Magic of Abraham the Mage, a famous grimoire, book of magical knowledge, dating back to at least the middle of the 15th century. Crowley seems to have become aware of the ritual from the 1897 translation of the book by occultist Samuel Liddell Mathers, one of the founders of the Hermetic Order of the Golden Dawn, which Crowley had joined in 1898 before falling out with most of its members, including Mathers a few years later. The purpose of performing the lengthy and intense Abraham ritual was for the magician to communicate with his holy guardian angel or higher self. It's not how you contact your higher self either. I'm going to tell you right now. You can do that in a past life regression meditation session. I actually did one of those. This was for summoning archons and reptilians. Unfortunately for Crowley and those around him, the Abraham rites seem to have succeeded mainly in summoning demons, or the Abraham devils as Crowley calls them. During Crowley's occupancy, there were reports of heavy, oppressive atmosphere at Boleskine. Dark, eerie shadows filled the house. Fierce winds blew through the rooms despite calm weather outside, and strange figures were seen in the area. There is also a legend of an underground passageway linking the house with a nearby graveyard, said to have been utilized by Crowley for some unknown reason, perhaps to scare off intruders. Now, he was probably going to the graveyard, getting bones for this ritual. That's the only thing I can really think of there. Crowley later sold Boleskine House, and it subsequently had a series of private owners, including in the late 1970s, Led Zeppelin guitarist and Crowley fanatic Jimmy Page. Even today, the property retains a slightly sinister atmosphere. To many modern occultists, and geographical and spiritual significance of Boleskine remains extremely important. In fact, practitioners of Thelema, Crowley's religious philosophy, are still instructed to turn and face north of Boleskine when conducting certain magical ceremonies. A little insight into that ceremony, too, because I know how it was performed. When he did this ritual, he would have essentially become a vegan. Always be skeptical of someone who's a vegan. Ask them if they do it for health reasons or if they're an occultist. Ask them flat out, and don't be worried about insulting them. The reason why, for 6 months, he lived on nothing but bread and water. That is, you cannot open interdimensional portals for the demons he's summoning when you eat meat. The second thing he did was out on the patios here. They have like patios on the back. What he did was he put sand on these patios so he could see, to make sure that he summoned these entities, he could see their feet walking around in the sand. That's a trick that they do. They'll put sand on the floor, and they'll know that they summon the demons because they'll see the footmarks of the demons walking around on the sand. He did that. Remember, he's on the lake of Ashore also. It's by a lake also. So water is needed for these rituals. This is why the statue of Molech at Bohemian Grove is in front of a lake, and that's why Boleskine House. This is the lake where Loch Ness is, and it's theorized maybe that comes from the Crowley, I don't know. Could have been some entities he summoned. What happened during this ritual, he was interrupted by the leader of the Hermetic Order of the Golden Dawn, who got into some trouble into France. So Crowley abandoned the ritual and abandoned Boleskine House, and he never put the demons back that he summoned. Yes, you actually have to put those demons back after you summon them, and this is why they had all the stories about this house being very eerie for years after Crowley had left it, because he never put the demons he summoned back. He left to go help out the Order of the Golden Dawn. That's the story. I don't know. I really think that he meant to leave them out, and he meant to abandon the ritual, and he knew that he had them summoned, which is why he was putting sand on the floors. Obviously, he was very invested into this ritual, made the butcher cut his fingers off, the housemaid that goes missing. Come on, it's a sacrifice. I'm like, read between the lines there. People just don't go missing. So, that's pretty much all I'm really going to cover. I think most people are familiar when I do lectures. I don't like them to run over too much of an hour because obviously there are a lot of links here. They will all be in the description. The one thing, there are a few things that I will be putting on my main YouTube channel about Crowley that I can get away with. Obviously not the sex magic stuff. One of them is the theory of him being reptilian. I can do that, and I probably will make that video in the future. In fact, I think I'm even going to make this the thumbnail image. The other thing that I'm not going to get too much into in this video is this entity called Lamb. The reason why is I'm going to actually do a video on the archons, and it's also going to include Lamb, and yes, the lesser key of Solomon. This is okay. You know, I can put this on YouTube. Talking about the archons, not a big deal. What I can't put on there is some of that poetry from Aleister Crowley. Yeah, shit on me, slut. Yeah, I mean, you can't make that stuff up. And yeah, that's the kind of stuff I can't put on YouTube. And what's amazing is all these people love Crowley. They're all in this joke of the Hermetic Order of the Golden Dawn. And their mockery of a friggin' ad here, basically admitting that they're pedophiles engaged in MK Ultra mind control and false flag attacks to cover up things that are going on behind the scenes. I do not suggest anyone contact or join these orders. Hopefully you realize from this lecture what you're in store for, and there's a lot more other perverse things you're going to have to engage in, including, sadly, the sacrifice of animals. The one thing that I can't figure out, which I will honestly say, is why I don't understand the symbolism of the crucifying of a frog in this order. That's something that I'll honestly say, if I can't figure something out, I don't even know. I don't know what that is symbolic of, or what that's supposed to be symbolic of, but I do find it pretty interesting, because I remember back in biology class when I was in school, we had to dissect a frog for biology class. I remember that. I don't know if they're still doing that in schools, but I remember that. Yeah, it was a frog. Kind of, whatever, weird. So I don't know what the significance of the frog sacrifice is. Now, what I was talking about with the guy dying in Sicily, where he got kicked from drinking the contaminated cat's blood, that ties into the Bast and Sekhmet video I made about the war against Horus and Sekhmet. And that's why, sadly, in a lot of these orders, they sacrifice cats. Sorry about the coughing there. I've been doing a lot of talking. Obviously, if you hear too, my congestion's been clearing up. That's good. I've been alkalizing my body with apple cider vinegar, not human urine, like Crowley does. So why do they sacrifice cats? Because this is probably why, I don't know, it's weird, because a familiar is a witch's companion. Maybe that ties more into like Wicca, but then you have orders like Crowley's, and I also know the Temple of Set. I did a lot of talking last night, and obviously a lot of talking today. I'm trying to figure out the best way to say this. It's kind of weird, because in some orders, like witches, they use cats as companions in doing alcheminal things. And the Temple of Set is an Egyptian deity. He's a very evil one. I know that yes, they do sacrifice cats, sadly, in the Temple of Set. And I hate talking about it, because everyone knows how much I love animals in general, all animals. I love dogs too. I had a dog. Plan to get another dog again one day. And it's sad. Not only did they sacrifice the cats, but in the case of Crowley, they were actually drinking the blood also. Very disturbing. So some of these orders actually have animosity towards cats, of all things. So That's why I think if you watch the lecture about Sekhmet and Horus, you'll understand why I made a case in there about the cat people not liking the reptilians and them getting in a war together. Kind of makes sense, and especially because a lot of things with Crowley tie back to ancient Egyptian mysticism also. So I don't find it a coincidence there. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed my lecture on sex magic. Some of these subjects, like I said, I'll go into more detail on my main channel. I'll probably also read some comments on video tonight and promote this for my Patreon and let people know, you know, they can come over, watch it for $1, ad-free. Also, this video will not have any advertisements on it, and of course, it'll be unlisted on my main YouTube channel. Available only to Patreons, and this is a way that I can begin to skirt some of the censorship on YouTube. For example, I made a video today about Trump wanting to legalize weed, and they put that up for manual review. It's becoming, I don't know. Yeah, I try not to get upset about it, but it's getting ridiculous. I don't even know what sparked the manual review for that one. Was it just because Trump's in the title, or marijuana, or weed? I don't know. Whatever. But what's amazing is all these people that are censoring us, like people who run YouTube and Google, they all worship and adore Aleister Crowley. They engage in these sex magic rituals and eating of sperm cakes of all things, and spermognosis. So anytime you ever hear somebody say sex magic from Aleister Crowley, just let that translate in your head to spermgnosis, because that's what it is. There's nothing sexy about it. Even he said that industrialized sperm will revolutionize the world. And now that I think about that, and how much of our elitists, including big corporations like Monsanto and GMO, love Crowley, you see where I'm going with that one. I know, it's disgusting. It makes you really think now. We've heard rumors before about companies like Pepsi using aborted fetal cells in their products, which I don't know if it's true or not. But the fact that Crowley wanted everyone consuming human sperm of all things, it gets even a little more disturbing. Anyway, all these links will be in the description. If there's any questions or comments, leave them below. I usually answer all the comments on my Patreon. I mean, not just heart them, I'll actually answer them, because it's a smaller amount of people and I can interact better over here. It's, you know, obviously on some of my videos where I get a few thousand comments, I can't respond to every one of them, so I just heart them at least. But if you do comment here, I will respond to it. Thanks again for the support on Patreon. I think this is a good move that I'm doing going forward, and putting half content on there and half on YouTube. And I think it's a good idea. And we'll see how this works out for me, so I can skirt a lot of this censorship and all that. Any questions or comments, leave them below. And until we speak again, this is Kinninigan, and take care.